Hi, Barbara.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi. So, do you want to practice sharing your screen just before we get started?
Yes, I just did, but I'll do it again.
Oh, okay, that's okay. If you've got it, then good.
It never hurts to.
Oh, you're brilliant. Okay.
I'm something, aren't I?
You are something, man.
It only took me a few weeks to learn that back during COVID.
Hey, so I talked to Emily earlier. Here's the drill. I have to get off of this meeting at 6.
Okay.
So, and she's coming off of a meeting at 5. So I'm going to start us right at 5.
Okay.
And we can't approve anything until Emily is on. But we're going to remove the MLK Day discussion. We already decided everything last meeting. I don't know why. I think I made a mistake and put it on there again.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to talk about the rules and recruitment. We're not sure how long number 4 is going to go with the woman who's asked to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. And there's another woman who's on the transportation committee that wants to talk during public input. And then Jeff Dahl, who's a city councilor, wants to talk, but he can't get on until like 5:10 or something. So we're just going to kind of bump our way through this agenda.
Okay.
But just know that, we're holding that 10 minutes for you to do your update with your plan. And
So let me run my thoughts past you.
okay.
I was just going to go down through that list. The majority of it came from Mayor Graham, just as a refresher. And then share the couple things I added on at the end as an open to discussion topic. And so there might be a little bit of interaction around it, but really, I think this is for subsequent meetings. And I hopped over to I wanted to listen in on the Housing and Human Services committee call. And I noticed they're having a retreat to discuss they didn't say their 2024 action plan, but a developmental retreat for goal setting. And I just wondered if we might want to consider to do the same thing, whether it's face-to-face, which we've talked about doing before, or even just a slightly longer Zoom call to say what are our objectives of what we want to accomplish in 2024, which Mayor Graham tasked us with, right?
Yep. So I love goal setting. I love strategic planning. I love all of that kind of stuff. I think Emily is totally lukewarm on all of that.
Okay.
Until we have a group of people until we have more members.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So I don't think it'll fly with her, the idea at this point. So that's just.
Well, then my objective today will just be to go down through that list, just to bring it back to everybody's attention and see if there's any pushback on any of the things that Mayor Graham said, or pushback or new developments. Get a consensus on that. Those should pretty much be a given. That's what we were asked to do. And then, see if there's any discussion around my idea. I did find that coffee and conversation that Sabrina actually has been doing it monthly, to just get residents to come in. It was kind of more focused on housing, but really it's like it's the same thing. What's working, what isn't working for you in Ashland. So I feel like we could do something similar, but just, focus it a little bit more on diversity. And I think we should just make it diversity, because I don't think we just have racial diversity in this town. We have age diversity as well, which economically, is going to be an issue down. It's an issue already, probably, and going to be an issue down the line. So and I say this as a person that read through the whole 43 pages of the impediments to fair housing, and that is a gold mine of information about, what really exists here. The data, there is data there. So just basically talk through those things, and then just see what I would start with my objective. What I would love to see is by the end of the year, everybody on the committee, which is bigger and more robust, raises their hands for one of the things on that list.
And I'm going to be totally honest. I don't see Emily or Precious taking on anything.
Okay.
So, maybe you want to expand that time frame to March or something. I just don't think that the tasks, hi Tara, I don't think the tasks can occur until we have bodies willing to do the tasks.
But they're not all equally weighted as far as how much of a heavy lift they are. For example, one thing that I just threw on there, Mayor Graham had said that we should interact with our BIPOC local partners on training. Okay, so I threw on compiling a list of our BIPOC local partners.
Right.
So that's something that, probably everybody on this committee, except for me, could literally take an hour to do that, because you already know who those partners are.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you now.
Okay.
Sorry. It's 5 o'clock. Emily's here. And
hi, Emily.
Hi, everybody.
I'm going to rename. And I see Jeff Dahl is here, but I don't see his picture. I don't see him. But
Jeff, are you there?
looks like he's trying to connect to audio.
Okay.
And Emily, I did get clarification from Jeff that he's a ex officio non-voting.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to nonetheless start the meeting while Jeff is trying to audio in. So welcome. This is the Social Justice and Racial Justice Committee meeting of Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. It's about 5:01 or 5:02, and we're going to start the meeting. Due to people's conflicting schedules, we're only planning for the meeting to be an hour tonight. So we'll be done by 6 o'clock, regardless of, and I think we'll be able to actually cover everything. So in terms of the call to order, is there somebody who would like to read the land acknowledgement before I just call on you? I will just call on you. Tara, will you read the land acknowledgement? Do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Thank
We
you.
acknowledge and honor the Aboriginal people on whose ancestral homelands we work, the Irakatsum Band of the Shasta Nation, as well as the diverse and vibrant Native communities who make their home here today. We denounce the egregious acts of the colonizers and government and recognize the horrific impacts that still exist today. We honor the first stewards in the Rogue Valley and the lands we love and depend on, tribes with ancestral lands in and surrounding the geography of the Ashland watershed, include the original past, present, and future indigenous inhabitants of the Shasta, Takelma, and Atkapspan people. We also recognize and acknowledge the Shasta village of Kawakaka, where the crow lights that is now the Ashland City Plaza.
Thank you, Tara. And I am going to read the labor acknowledgement because I want to. We also pause to recognize and acknowledge the labor upon which our country, state, and institutions are built. We remember that our country is built on the labor of enslaved people who were kidnapped and brought to the United States from the African continent, and recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We also acknowledge all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples who contributed to the building of the country and continue to serve within our labor force. We acknowledge all unpaid caregiving labor. To the people who contributed this immeasurable work and their descendants, we acknowledge their indelible mark on the space in which we gather today. It is our collective responsibility to critically examine these histories, to repair harm, and to honor, protect, and sustain their contribution to our society. Thank you all for the pause and for the recognition of both the land that we're on and also of our labor. In terms of the approval of minutes, which is the next agenda item, while we have a quorum, I think the approval of minutes that we can have is only for October. Am I correct, Ann?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes of October?
I move.
Thanks. Barbara, would you like to second it?
Yes, I'll second it.
Good. Anybody opposed? That would only be me, and I'm not opposed, so it passes.
I just want to clarify, Barbara and Tara, you understand why you can only approve October, because Tara wasn't on the committee for September and June. And so we need to wait until Precious is in attendance to have a quorum to approve those previous minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
I do.
Thank you.
Great. So we have with us tonight a guest who is an Ashland City Councilor. And therefore he has expressed interest in our committee and would that he could actually be a full-fledged member of our committee, but he cannot be because he's a city councilor, so he has to be an ex officio member. But nonetheless, I thought it would be nice for Jeff to introduce himself to those of us who are on the call. And Jeff, maybe tell us a little bit as to why you're interested in being here with us, and we are certainly glad to have you. Thank you.
Emily, thank you so much, and thank you, everybody.
Whoops, we've
Yeah.
lost.
You're frozen, Jeff.
Did I lose you?
Yeah,
Hello. Oh,
There you
hello.
are.
Now you're back.
sorry. Okay. Thank you, Emily. A bit about myself. I was born and raised here, and grew up here. Went to all school, and like a lot.
Weak
A lot
internet.
of folks who grew up here and has wanted to leave, and then what's that?
No, keep going. Keep going. We thought we'd lost you again. Keep going.
Oh, okay, no problem. And I'm sorry about this. That I've got a little bit of hard stop, and we just got out of executive session, hence me sitting in my car. Normally, this would be, at my desk or so forth. But I just, as most people who leave find a calling to come back, because this is an incredibly special place with incredibly amazing people. You had asked, why I was interested in joining this committee, this commission. It is along the same lines of me wanting to become involved in council. To be quite honest with you, when I was younger, I didn't even know where council chambers was. It is my just my desire and my love for everyone here, and my innate curiosity to always be learning. And I love making relationships and love interesting stories and individuals, just their histories, and I just love making connections, and I just thought this would be a wonderful venue to learn and to contribute. So thank you.
Thank you. And clearly, I'm Emily Simon. I'm one of the co-chairs of this committee, and you've probably heard me in front of City Council a time or two.
I have.
And I was a founding member of this committee and actually had worked on making it happen prior to its passage by council.
Yep.
So,
And I remember when that happened. I was a former member. Also, I was the chair of the airport commission, so I completely understand the parliamentary role relative to minutes and so forth too. So thank you for all that you do for the commission. It's I appreciate the leadership.
thank you. Barbara and Tara, why don't you just introduce yourselves so that Jeff knows who you are? And I think Anne, Jeff, you know Anne, or she could introduce herself also.
We've emailed back and forth, but would love to hear from Ann.
Great. Have at it. Okay, so Anne, you're the next on my screen. So the order is going to go Anne, Barbara, and Tara.
Hi, Jeff. I worked for the city of Ashland for more than 20 years. I retired in 2018. I was asked to come back. The city of Ashland asked me to come back and staff this newly formed committee, which was in 2021. And so I work part-time, and the only thing I do is work to support and staff the Social Equity and Racial Justice Committee.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
I think I'm next on Emily's screen.
You are, Barbara.
I'm Barbara Garrity. I moved to Ashland in March. I absolutely love it here. It's exceeded my wildest expectations in every category except for diversity. So I found my way to Surge to work on changing that. I'm most interested in both age and racial diversity. I come from a business career, and I retired coming up on 2 years ago. And I love being retired too. Oh, and I'm from Orange County.
Outstanding.
Thank you, Barbara. Tara, you're up.
Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you. My name's Tara. I use she, her pronouns, and I work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I do community outreach work, and I'm newly moved into their education and engagement department. So I say I'm the engagement part of that that department. I moved to Ashland a little over a year ago from Louisiana, where I was an associate dean of diversity, equity, and inclusion and scenic design professor at Louisiana State University. So I come here from higher ed, and my background is that I'm a scenic designer. So I still do a little bit of freelance work outside of Ashland as a scenic designer. This committee, I'll say, Emily Volin told me that I should be on this committee, in part because I think of my work in racial equity prior to coming here, as well as work on diversity initiatives in general. And I'm really, excited to help Ashland grow, even as a new resident. And it's a real treat to be able to join folks who have been here a long time, folks like you who have very deep roots in this community, to see how all of us can contribute to a better Ashland. So that's a real treat to be here, and nice to meet you today.
Oh, that's just awesome. And is it still okay to say go Tigers? Just
They
want to
would
make
definitely
sure.
like that.
Well, and Tara, I think you and I spoke a few meetings ago, or I can't remember what it was. It was I was at council chambers and really enjoyed our discussion. And thank you so much for what you do with OSF. I really feel like we're turning a really positive page there, and has been just struggled through COVID, through all of these just, unprecedented times with all these external factors, and to be able to, as a community work through that, through everything with as much grace as possible. I just appreciate your dedication to all that we're trying to do here, especially in the arts. It's so incredibly important and foundational. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay. Anne, is there any, Barbara, I know you're going to be speaking to us, but we've got some people who I think may be waiting to talk to us.
No, Emily, neither. I can't remember the woman's name from the Transportation Committee. She is, oh, wait, hold on just a minute. I'm just seeing attendee. Hold on. Yes,
Okay.
Holly Christensen. I'm going to move. Hold on just a second. I'm going to promote Holly to panelist.
See how easy it is to get a promotion?
Holly, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hi,
Yay!
Holly. Nice to meet you. I'm
Yeah,
Emily Simon. I'm co-chair of this committee.
great. What a treat. Like, what a treat to actually get to just hear a little bit about all of you this evening so far. I appreciate that little introduction that happened. So yeah, I'm Holly Christensen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the Transportation Advisory Committee, or TAC, and I am going to be coming to listen in on the Social Equity and Racial Justice Committee meetings on a regular basis, or if not in person, watching the recorded videos after that, as a part of our tax committee goal to stay more informed and connected to other committees and commissions work. We feel that this will just help us strengthen efforts where there might be overlap in our strategies and goals, and not to duplicate work going on in other committees, and most importantly, not work against each other, which I can't imagine that we would. And just a real quick intro to the Transportation Advisory Committee, in case some of you may not have memorized the mission statement yet. Our role is to advise the City Council on all transportation related issues, specifically as they relate to safety, planning, funding, and advocacy for bicycles, transit, parking, pedestrian, and all other modes of transportation. Our mission statement is Ashland has a vision to retain our small town character. Even while we grow, to achieve this mission, we must proactively plan for a transportation system that is integrated into the community and enhances Ashland's livability, character, and natural environment. The focus must be on people being able to move easily through the city in all modes of travel. Modal equity then is more than just a phrase. It's a planning concept that does not necessarily imply equal financial commitment or equal percentage use of each mode, but rather ensures that people of all ages and abilities will have the opportunity to conveniently and safely use the transportation mode of their choice and allow us to move towards a less auto-dependent community. And we're aware that in many cities in the US, some communities are systematically underserved by our current transportation systems and policies, which is particularly true for low-income people, BIPOC, children, senior citizens, people with disabilities, and people walking and bicycling, all of whom are impacted by traffic crashes at a disproportionate high rate. So this is why TAC will be pursuing an effort to adopt a philosophy that's a nationwide philosophy called Vision Zero, which is a data-driven, systems-based approach that can bring increased and overdue resources, action, and political will to communities that have been historically neglected. And we actively seek input of diverse voices, particularly those in communities most severely impacted, yet not traditionally influential in the traffic safety conversation, so that we can help build a stronger, more equitable plan. So yeah, social equity and racial justice must be considered as we develop our own transportation system. So I'm really glad to be here. And just on a personal level, I've been on the co-chair of our DEI change team at the organization I work for the past few years. So DEI work is a really good passion of mine that I really love learning about. So I'm glad to kind of get focused on your all's work and just kind of lurk in the background and learn from you and kind of take what's relevant back to our committee. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if there's any questions or.
Thank you. I love a lurker.
Great.
No, it's right. Does anybody have any questions for Holly? Okay. One thing I want to say, Holly, I think maybe perhaps I don't know, who is your chair, Holly?
It's Linda Peterson Adams.
Okay, so Linda Peterson Adams has brought together all of the committees for a session. I'm telling this to people on Surge because they may not know it. And Precious will be attending that on behalf of our committee. And I'm just sort of saying when it is because And I'm hoping we can get it on the agenda for December for Precious to give us a report on that. I'm sorry, I don't remember when it is. I think it's November 7th. I think it's this Tuesday. So I think it's the reason I'm pointing this out right now is because I think it's a very good thing for us to learn what the other committees are doing and how we can combine needed resources for us to move forward, and also for recruitment purposes. Because we're down on members, Holly. So if you come across anybody who would like to be on this committee, please have them get in touch with Ann. Thank you.
Will do.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I would just add that, Holly, I believe the Ashland Municipal Code states that you can be on 2 committees at the same time. So if you're not, I'm just making the sales pitch right now.
That's a great sales pitch, Jeff.
Thank you, Holly, for considering it deeply. Okay. Hi, Gina. Nice to see you.
Hello,
So-
everyone.
All right. So is the other individual who wanted to address us tonight there yet, Ann?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna move on then.
Yep.
Great. So where we're up to now then is Barbara Garrity for updates. Barbara, do you have updates?
Yes.
Great.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, last week well, Mayor Graham was on our call in September, I believe. And she tasked us with some action items, including to do some research on where the city of Ashland had helped or hindered racial discrimination. So I took that on and did a bunch of research and probably discovered things that absolutely everybody on this call already knows, but it was a great learning curve for me. And then part of that, of her instructions to us were also, there were a list of things that she would like to see our committee take on and convert into perhaps an action plan for 2024. So I did that. I'm going to share my screen so you can take a look at it, and then I'll talk through it. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great, love how that works. Okay, so on this list, there's 9 things currently, and number 1 to number 6 are from Mayor Graham. Sorry, it was at the June meeting. There's a link to the minutes there if you want to take a look. So I'm going to talk through these really quickly and just summarize them. But my thought is that if I know our committee's small, but I have hopes that it is growing and will grow before the end of the year, and that if each person could take on 1 or maybe 2 of these, some of them kind of go together pretty naturally. But also I wanted to get everybody's opinion on whether or not this is even, each one of these, is it even within our scope of operations? Is it a good fit for what our committee does, what our committee wants to do? And then of course, there's probably other things we want to do as well. And then I have a couple of suggestions for what I'd like to see the committee do at the end that I'm going to share. So the first was to support the efforts within the city's operations to train staff and also keep an eye on internal practice protocols aligned with the DEI goals. That's obviously a big one and needs to be somebody, in my opinion, who really has a deep understanding of city government in the city of Ashland. The second one is something that has been tossed around, but I'm not sure that we've seen this yet, and that is the consultant's DEI internal assessment. We need to become familiar with that and see what was recommended. And that's probably really the first order of business. Then develop a DEI training program for local businesses and their staff. And as part of this one, she had said to utilize our local DEI partners. So down, if you see number 7, I felt that the first thing would be to compile a list of our local DEI partners. That could be as simple as a Google sheet or, probably using technology, because I would love to see that list. I'm not really even sure who they are, but use them in some of these different things. Assist the city in identifying surge-related holidays and community events. I think we're just great on that one. I just have to say, I think we're doing a great job of looking at every single event and how we can bring the surge presence and just really uphold the city of Ashland in using those opportunities to be very welcoming and to foster a sense of belonging. I've loved the ones I've been involved with. Support other committees. So Holly's on our call right now. I'm going to hop on the Housing and Human Services call next week, I believe. I also want to say that the different reports, there's the impediments to fair housing, which was shared with me, and that gave me just a wealth of information. And so now, having just listened to Holly, I wonder if transportation has a similar report, because there was a lot of data, more than I've seen anywhere else, on the racial dynamics, the racial demographics of the city of Ashland in that housing impediments report. Support Ashland Together. I've kind of taken the lead and been involved on that so far. And we'll keep reporting back on that. Right now, they're very focused on the speaker series. They're launching February 12th, and they have Carpenter Hall, a contract with them, a couple speakers lined up, kind of working on the marketing and branding, which is where I've gotten involved. And I've mentioned this a couple times, I'll mention it again. For the last 4 years I kind of had a little second career where I was working with corporate DEI. And if there's the number one thing that I learned there is that you don't design a single strategy, a single action plan. You don't pursue a single idea until you have surveyed the people that you aim to serve, until you found out, at the very least, what's working, what isn't for them, what they would like to see happen. And so I would like to suggest that we find a way to conduct listening sessions with residents, BIPOC residents specifically. By the way, I'm using the term BIPOC. I know not everybody loves it, but we have to kind of pick one, and that one to me it encompasses everything. And so in doing a little bit of research, I discovered that, and Jeff, you can speak to this, the city council is already doing coffee and conversations with residents on different topics. And I thought since there's a precedent there, we could do something similar, but just have it a little bit more focused on really reaching out to our BIPOC residents and just getting their point of view about what could be improved here. I do realize that when you do that, then you need to take steps to create the improvement, but I think that's what our committee is here for. So anyway, I would like to see us at least look at having listening sessions. I haven't gotten much further in thinking who should conduct those, although here's Gina. Gina would be good. But really just to capture that data and documentation so that I feel like at the end of that process, we would be much better informed on what the city of Ashland is really like for all the residents. And then from that, we could develop some strategies and action plans for 2024 and into the future.
Barbara,
Yes.
are you ready for discussion on it, or was there more that you wanted to say?
Yes, I'm ready for discussion.
Okay, I have a couple of things to say, just to sort of get us going and to make some point blank suggestions. Okay. Number one, Anania Muse, who used to be on this committee, in fact, who was my first co-chair, okay, who is still employed by OSF, but is not living in Ashland, okay? I've spoken to her, and she is a DEI expert and has done trainings before and has done consulting before. Surjac, as a committee, has never had any DEI training. Shocking, but true. And I don't know, and Holly is sitting here while I say this, about the other committees and if they have had DEI training. So I think that a very good thing to do, and Anya, I believe, based upon my conversation with her, would be willing to do that, would be willing to do a DEI training for us at a time when she, or a DEI engagement, okay, at a time when she is back in town anyway. And I think that would accomplish some goals, particularly with working with the other committees.
I will add that to this list.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a great idea, mostly because I think we all need a baseline of understanding. I think we're all on this committee because we care about this, we're passionate about this. We're probably on this committee because we do have some knowledge. We've done some study into DEI and current DEI principles. But for example, it's very different. Base would be very different than Salesforce, for example. And so to have that commonality of understanding and also lexicon so that we all know what one another are talking about, it'll make us more effective in the future in working together.
Yeah, and then I'll let you go in. I'm just going to say this. I think that the reason for why I'm talking about doing it within the committee structure is that the more we can have cross-fertilization, I think that might have been the word that I'm thinking of when Holly was talking with the other committees, it would be then we weren't only talking to ourselves. Anne.
I just want to clarify number 2 on your list. I can't see your full screen if you scroll down. The DEI, the internal assessment and organization, that's being done. It will take months before that project is completed and the consultant comes up with their recommendations. So maybe we'll see something late spring. So just so you know.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks.
And I think, I know that's why I said I have a couple of things that I want to say. The other one is regarding the idea of the listening sessions. I don't know, and if Eric is still on the call, but Gina may still be on the call. I don't know if that's just a sort of whoever comes to give input to the city councilors do it, or if it is a more structured and formal sort of listening session, because there's a distinction between just saying, you know, come and chat and have a cup of coffee, for those of you who drink coffee, which is another diversity issue, or a true listening session, which has a different kind of notion in terms of people not responding. Usually it's a way to have people feel safer than just approaching and talking to somebody in a coffee shop. So I'm not quite sure where you go with that and how you view it.
Well, that would be the next step. You know, I base this on what other towns and cities have done, specifically the city of Long Beach, which I realize is much, much bigger, but they did this in a very robust process over a period of years and came out with strategies and 107 items on the action plan. Obviously, our scale would be smaller than that. But that combined with then when I discovered that the city was already doing something like that. I think the main thing is that it needs to be, well, this would be a whole thing to figure out how to do this effectively, what the pitfalls are to avoid them. But because I do think it has to be structured properly. I don't think we just want a bitch session and at the same time, people that come in with valid concerns. I think we need to hear those concerns, make it very clear we heard those concerns, and take action on them. And just to share a little anecdote, I was meeting with Eva at Source. Remember, I initially thought that we could do some kind of a data capture, some kind of social media strategy. I rolled out both of those, by the way, but I was meeting with her and we were having this conversation at a coffee shop, and an Asian woman came over and said, I've been overhearing the conversation. Can I join you? And then she told me about her experience. She's been here 5 years. She's a young single mother. She is not having a good experience in Ashland. She feels lonely, isolated, and unsupported. She suffered microaggression. And the main thing I want to say is that it was like she was just waiting for somebody to ask. All this poured out of her, and it hurt. It literally hurt to hear what her experience is. And at one point I said, she's from San Diego. You know, she kept talking about how isolated she was. I said, when you communicate with your friends in San Diego, do you tell them Ashland is a great place? You should think about moving here. And without a second's hesitation, she said, absolutely not. And that just broke my heart because, you know, I want younger people, people of color living in this town that I love. And, you know, if they're interacting with their former friend, I tell all my friends, by the way, you should consider moving here. This place is fabulous. But here we are, an older white woman, you know, we probably have enough of those. So just that to me was very validating. The fact that somebody overheard and stood up and came over. People need to be heard. Number one, people need to be heard, and we need to know what they have to say.
Thank you, Barbara. Gina has something to say on this topic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now my dog's gonna talk. Something that I wanted to chime in is the coffee and conversation that council had. It was more advertised, come, bring your topics, let's talk. So it was more an open conversation. I think if we want to have something that's more intentional, that too can happen. And we could have something for beginners at the library. And we could advertise it as, instead of just conversation and coffee, we could, you know, look at this strategically and say, okay, for instance, November is Indigenous Peoples Month, right? So if it was in November, maybe we'd look at Indigenous people. If it's in February, maybe we would look at Black people, Black History Month. So I mean, to be more strategic and more intentional about who we're going to speak to, what's going to come to us, and so that the committee is better prepared. Or you can have just an open conversation, come as you are. We can do that for those that don't drink coffee, Emily, a talk in the park. So it can be however you'd like to do it. Just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff.
Emily, thank you so much. And I just wanted to preface this by apologizing in advance. Emily, I know I have a family function that started a few minutes ago, and but I fully intend will be obviously at all of the future meetings. This was just on my calendar prior to this, but I wanted to say before I leave, I appreciate Barbara you sharing, and thank you so much for the outstanding ideas. And I know Councillor Duquesne had and I had talked about this, and with her leadership of wanting to do more of these conversations, and it's actually kind of special because we don't have to worry about the quorum, and the two of us can get together as long as there's just, I think it's no more than 3. Gina, please keep me honest. I believe that's right. But I would be happy. I think it would be outstanding. The more conversation we can have, the more questions that we can have. I mean, that's something for me, like I said at the top of the call, is I'm inherently curious and always learning. So I would love to be in a place where the more we can ask questions and understand, the more we can become knowledgeable. So I welcome this, and I'm going to hop off, but please know that Counselor Duquesne can, speaks for me to sign me up for anything and everything where we can continue this. I think it's outstanding.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. So I'm hearing two different ideas, okay? Or two slightly different ideas. Tara, go ahead. I think your hand is up, and then Barbara, did you also raise your hand?
No, I was
Again.
just saying goodbye.
Oh, you're just saying goodbye. Tara, were you raising your hand or saying goodbye?
I was raising my hand.
Good. Would you speak then, please?
Yes, of course. There's kind of two things that rose to the top for me after this list. One is that as we have conversations with local DEI partners, and particularly when we're engaging with people of color around DEI work, we need to pay them. The labor needs to be acknowledged and the labor needs to be compensated. So if that's something that we're interested in doing, is engaging with experts in our field, we need to make sure that we have a budget plan to back that up and that we're not asking for free labor to help the city with these efforts. And then the other thing is the DEI training for local businesses. I know that there was an effort to move something like this forward a number of years ago that I believe Tia Leota Faye was leading that effort. So perhaps it's worth trying to make a connection with her to have a conversation about that process, because I believe they have a blueprint, they have stuff in place that was started, and it may not then be starting from nothing, starting from the beginning.
I'm sorry, Tara, just for the minutes, who was this that was leading that a few years ago?
I'll put her name in the chat in just a minute. I'm going to double check the spelling to make sure I don't, mess it up in a public space. So I'll double check that and then drop it in our chat. And then I think the other part of that is in terms of developing trainings of any kind. I'm curious about whether the intention is that this committee is doing that or this committee is looking for experts to lead those initiatives.
Okay, so a couple of things in terms of the history of the committee, and I have to jump in here. We have gone down this road before in terms of the training roles and in terms of who was going to do the training essentially for the entire city of Ashland, okay, and Ashland employees. And ultimately, thanks, I think, probably a lot to the good work of Anne, is Common Ground, Mike Green's group, did trainings for the city of Ashland, just very basic trainings, okay? Did not include, unless Anne, I'm wrong on this, it did not include the city councilors. It was more for city staff, and it certainly didn't include any of us, okay? And
each department paid for their employees to attend the training.
Okay, so thank you, Anne, for the clarification. So the reason for why I'm bumping in to say that is that I think that for number one, okay, support efforts within the city's operations to train staff. My feeling, Barbara, and I understand that training is ongoing and that it never really ends, but my feeling is that we have done that and that we've now really truly given it to the city to either fund it and follow through on it and do what they should be doing or not. And Anya's offer that I had started speaking to her about, Tara, just to sort of confirm this and make sure that you and I are clear, is she was doing that as a volunteer, sort of out of the recognition of having, and I don't mean this seriously when I say it, but having left us all in the lurch by when she left the committee and when she was no longer able to participate. So because we had talked about it when she was still on the committee, I think she views it as her way of giving back at this point. And we've only had preliminary conversations about it. So I don't view that in the same, and I absolutely agree with you, that it perpetuates a racist trope from white people when they ask Black people to be doing these trainings without compensating when their whole entire lives are spent doing trainings for us anyway. So I'm really glad you raised that. Thank you. Gina, did you want to say something, or were you just waving your hand?
Oh, always waving my hand.
I know,
However,
that's why I'm asking.
I will take this opportunity when the suggestion of training comes up. And I believe, we can't have enough education. And I believe Tara can speak to this also. Ashland Together is looking at putting training availability out there. Happening after Martin Luther King Day in January, and then this happening in February, right after the launching of the Education of the Sundown to Sunrise City. Anne is correct. Common Grounds, the Greens did educate the staff only. However, that Ashland Together is looking to do, the first one will be a freebie, and the freebie is out there just to kind of tickle, tease, entice you to spend the money to learn more. This is something that I will present to council because it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to learn more about Oregon history. And that's what it's going to be based on, the white utopia. So I believe it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to go on, see the freebie, and then see if we can fit that into our budget. I believe it's going to be like $80 or $90, and it's a series of training. So it's valuable history. It's definitely worth it. And I'm hoping that counselors will jump on board. And also I would encourage staff. We can never learn enough.
So I really appreciate that, Gina. Thank you. We can never learn enough. But I have a question for Barbara in terms of learning enough at this point. So Barbara, can you tell me what you think our next steps are?
Well, I think the first next step is that we refine this list to a manageable amount for the number of current members that we have, and everybody take one and run with it and report back monthly on the call. I would like to take the listening sessions and explore and design a way that could be done. I'll learn a lot along the way on what's been done before here, other places, what works and what doesn't. I have a lot of people in the DEI space at the very top of the DEI game that I can reach out to for, ideas and input and stuff like that. So I feel passionate about that one. I'd like to take that one. For example, number one, even though this was given to us by Mayor Graham, but even when I put it on this list, I looked at it. I don't know how our little committee could really even do that. We're not in City Hall. How could we even do that?
Yeah, and like I said, I take it as that one is done.
Yeah. So maybe we get this down to 5. And then each one of the members takes one area and says, I'm going to run with this. And then also interacting with the other committees as well, because I've learned so much from listening to the other 2 committees present. And I know when I listen in on the calls, I'll learn even more. So I think that should be a really big part of it too, because they have similar challenges. And so what are they doing to solve them? Why reinvent the wheel? But I think the main thing is that I think the committee needs to get focused on a number of manageable goals and surge into 2024. And I think that will also attract additional members, because I've had a couple of conversations and people have asked me, well, what does surge do? And I would like to have a stronger answer to that. So far it's been more around the holidays and community events. And like I said, that's wonderful. But I think we need some more heavy lifting as well. So yeah, I think that if we get this into a manageable list and everybody takes responsibility and is accountable for one thing, then we'll get some work done.
Okay, Barbara, I'm gonna jump in here, mindful for 6 o'clock and it's 10 of 6. So I'm gonna jump in. I think there's a couple of things that we could all do right now. Tara, I'm looking right at you when I say this, okay? We all know, or many of us on this call, Tara and I know local DEI partners and who they are. And we could just compile a list and get it to you even via email, right, Tara? I mean, you probably even have that already in your computer somewhere, knowing you. And it won't take very long to get that to you. And that would be, there's your local list of local DEI partners, okay? That to me is an easy one, and it can be done from those of us in the room. Gina, you also must have in your computer a list of the organizations, and if we can just even get them, I think we should actually get them to Ann Seltzer instead of Barbara, because then that way it would be a compiled list by a staff person that we have that can be kept sort of in the what I call in the surge silo. And I think we can just all do that. Barbara, you probably have your own list by now from everybody you've spoken to. Okay, so to me, that seems like a fairly easy administrative job that we can do before the end of this year. Okay, so as your chair, I'm saying that we're going to do it. Okay, all right.
Great. Thank you.
Hearing no objection to that. That's the first thing I have to say. Okay, the second thing that I have to say, because it's already in progress, is the other committees in their work as it intersects with the goals of the Surge Advisory Committee. I am going to volunteer Precious for that because she's going to this meeting and I cannot go to that meeting. And Precious is really starting with the other committees. And if she can't do it, then we will take it from there. Okay? And that
Yes.
makes two things off of your list that we can do. I don't think that anybody at this point needs to take on number 4, which is the surge related holidays and community events, because like you said, we're already doing it. And I really think that in terms of the other issues, that they're larger issues and that we should try to be helping you, Barbara, with conducting the listening sessions, if that is something that we identify as something that we really want to do. I think Ashland Together on their own is doing hunky-dory with the things that they're doing. I think they should do what they're doing. We should be together with them, but I don't think we need to jump in full throat.
Well, perfect.
Okay.
Because I think we agree that number 1 is not really within the scope of this committee, but I do think that maybe that needs to be communicated back to Mayor Graham. And I'm just pulling things out of thin air. I don't even know how that works. But just because she did put that on this committee, and so I think we need to hand it back maybe. Number 2 is going to be way into the spring. You covered a lot of the other ones, but number 3, the DEI training program for local businesses. So who would be the best person to run with that?
Gina has her hand up. I see it.
No, you know what I'm not volunteering, Emily, so.
Oh,
no,
too
but-
bad.
No, something, and I have no concern being a part of it, but like Tara had mentioned, Tia, something that when we had our previous city manager, he and I were talking to the chamber, because the chamber has can play a part in this, and that's why I have no concern on behalf of Surge saying this is on our list and we need to see what we have and where we need to go, and maybe bring Tia and the chamber into the fold and have the conversation, find out what the status is, and then report back. Because I will, okay, I'll volunteer, Emily. I'll take that one on.
Okay,
Because,
thank you very much. I appreciate that, Tina. Now you got it.
okay, all right,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So now we're up to that. I've talked about number 4. I've talked about number 5. I've talked about number 6. Number 7 we're gonna do, which
Yeah.
brings us to the listening sessions. Okay,
How about if I do some more work to outline what that would actually look like?
That's
the who,
great.
Where, when, and how, and I will report it on the next meeting, and I'll call on Jeff for that. I'll call on Gina for that to find out, maybe talk to Sabrina, find out what's already been done. But I would love to put that together. I love the library idea. I love the idea of having a monthly theme to focus and intentionalize the whole thing. I love putting out, when we advertise it, just 3 questions. The questions I have here, I was working with top Fortune 100 corporations, and they would ask simple things like, what's working, what isn't, what could be better or different. Keep it simple.
Okay, Barbara, I'm gonna cut you off because we're gonna talk about it next month, number 1.
Okay.
And number 2, Anne really needs to leave at 6 o'clock. So
Okay.
with that in mind, I am gonna say I want to cover one more thing. Anne, I know I have 5 minutes. Are you a hard stop at 6?
I'm a hard stop, sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Listen, everybody, this is what I want you to look at in the agenda, okay? Because it will really help you in your recruiting efforts. In addition, Anne, can you quickly get the agenda up on the screen?
Barbara, can you unshare your,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
and no, I can't quickly do that, sorry.
Wait a
All
minute.
right.
Sorry.
Okay, listen. All right, if you look at your agenda, and this is something that you can do when we're not together, is what you can do is you will see that in addition to the recruiting guidelines, all right, that are there, okay, you will also see that there is a document about the history of Surge that Anne put together. It's excellent. Okay, it gives a timeline with everything that we have been doing since May of 2021. Okay, so when somebody asks you, what is it that you do? Okay, you have got the answers right there. And you'll see that the things that we do are diverse, okay, and they include recommending proclamations to the city council, okay, meeting with the police chief, and there are things that we do that are interesting to people that they don't know about. Now, so I want to say there are tools that are here that are already done that we don't even need to talk about. Pick these things up and use them. Number 1. Number 2, Barbara, you had mentioned to me about being in sneak previews, about that we should be saying something in sneak previews to get members. I am taking that, and unless I hear a screaming objection from somebody, for my own shameless self-promotion, I'm going to contact Curtis and see if he wants to do a profile on me and our organization as a way of giving a face to what it is that we are doing and to see if anybody thinks I'm cute and wants to join us. Okay?
Yes.
Anne, I know you have to leave at 6 o'clock, so I have to cut us off, but I think that we have accomplished some things tonight in an hour. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. I'll roll stuff over to the next agenda, and I appreciate your accommodating my schedule tonight. Thank you. I'm gonna end this meeting.
Right,
Bye.
we understand, Anne. See you in December.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.